Scott Brown. Scottish football's equivalent of Marmite given the extreme way he divides opinion among supporters, has come to the conclusion at 32 years of age that he is spreading himself too thin. Whether you love him as the inspirational leader of Celtic and Scotland or hate him for the hard man image he portrays on the pitch, one thing is for sure: you can't ignore him. Just a day after providing a microcosm of his personality in one 5-second sequence of action at Pittodrie, when 3 Aberdeen players had a go at scything him down before Shay Logan belted the ball off him, only for Brown to bounce up and dance away from the scene with a maniacal grin on his face. He was in the headlines once more after calling time on his Scotland career. It is the second time he has tried to close the international chapter of his career, of course. But pushing 33, this will more than likely be where his Scotland story definitively ends. After 55 caps and 5 years as captain, the void he leaves will be felt keenly by manager Alex McLeish and his teammates who, to a man, look up to him. And whatever your opinion of the character Brown portrays on the field, a majority of the Tartan army would likely agree that his influence and ability will be difficult to replace. Brown is the quintessential player that supporters hate when he is playing against them, but love to have in their team. His decision to bow out of national service will be a blow for Scotland. But there is no doubt in Brendan Rodgers' mind that Brown himself and Celtic will be the beneficiaries of the midfielder's lightening workload. I think it's a great decision for Celtic but also for Scott. Personally, said Rodgers, it was something he obviously had to think about at this stage of his career. The demands at club level and international level could have affected the longevity of that. He had that break before, but he had a big loyalty to Gordon Strachan, who brought him here. At that time last year, Scotland were missing players through injury and Gordon needed someone, and, being the type of man he is, Scott showed that loyalty to Gordon and to Scotland by coming back to help. But, after reflection, and he's had quite a bit of time to think about it, this is the right decision for Scott and Celtic, and Scotland can now plan for the future in terms of who the next captain should be. He spoke to Alex and I spoke to Alex as well. So they are in agreement, and at least now they can move forward together. And Scott can celebrate a great history of playing for Scotland. It may well be true that for Brown's critics among the Scotland support, and there are more than a few, that they won't know what they had until it is gone. His influence when he returned to the international fold was universally praised by teammates. But there are still those in the stands who won't mourn his loss. The one definite is that Scotland must now prepare for life without Brown's combative presence. Scott comes in for a lot of abuse from fans of other clubs. But do you know what? Posed Rodgers. Everybody would want him in their side. Because if you're going to war, he'd be the first man you'd pick. He's been a great player for Celtic and he's shown that with Scotland over these last number of years when he's had that influence. But it's now time to move on and find his replacement. Scotland may not have to look too far. Celtic's outstanding young fullback, Kieran Tierney, was handed the captain's armband for his country for the first time at the age of just 20 by interim manager Malky Mackay in November's friendly against the Netherlands. Despite the narrow defeat on the night, Tierney looked every inch a Scotland captain in waiting. The only question would be if the timing of the vacancy has come too soon for the unassuming lad from Motherwell, who is blossoming into an accomplished performer that looks destined for the very top level. If you're saying can he do it, then yeah, he could, said Rodgers. There's no question about that. I think he's a great ambassador for Scotland. Kieran Because how he prepares himself. How he works every day. He's a selfless kid as well. I know he'd be very proud of that. But Alex will have a few candidates. Obviously Malky gave him that the last time and it was a very proud moment for him. Of course. And he's captained Celtic already for myself. He's an experienced young player now. Even if this is not Tierney's time to assume the armband. Rodgers believes it is a matter of when. And not if. He will captain both club and country. I had a chat with him the other day. This is the next stage in his development. He said, he's played over 100 games now for Celtic and now you start to grow as a young man and take on that responsibility. He's one that has those qualities because he's very inspirational. Because of the type personality he is, it wouldn't be a concern, but of course, there is a big responsibility in captain Celtic and captaining your national team. If it wasn't this time, then I'm sure at some point it will happen in the future. One thing that cannot be questioned is the effect of the departing Scotland captain on the man who looks destined to fill his boots. Kieran's been in the shadow of Brownie since he broke into the squad and he's learned some terrific traits. I'm sure off him, said Rodgers. Thankfully he's got Scott at the latter part of his career and not at the early stages. I don't think he would have walked in with a red Mohican. He's obviously looked up to him when he was just a supporter of the club and then through the academy. He's seen someone there who's a real shining light. He's been a great role model for him.